Hi again, and welcome back to The Savvy Psychologist. I'm Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, and this week, just like every other, I will help you meet life's challenges with evidence-based research, a sympathetic ear, and zero judgment. Okay, last week we talked about the 6 ways we self-sabotage and the one reason why: fear of failure. And while we usually think of failure as failing to reach a goal, there are, for better or worse, lots of ways to fail. The social failure of being rejected, the romantic failure of being dumped, the career failure of being fired. No matter what kind of failure we fear, the possibility of it looms large and makes us avoid even trying. And this makes a lot of sense. Who doesn't want to avoid humiliation and defeat? But how to move forward and take that leap of faith regardless. Well, this week, here are 5 tips to free you from your fears. So let's get into it. Method number 1 is be specific. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Fear is worse when it's vague. From Terminator 2 to X-Men, Hollywood has taught us that it is hard to conquer something indistinct and shape-shifting. So it is with fears of failure, which are often so general as to be all-encompassing. Something bad might happen. What if something goes wrong? And suddenly, everything holds potential for failure. Okay, so to fight this, define specifically what failure really means to you. My company will go under and I'll have to file for bankruptcy. My great American novel will get panned on Amazon. I'll make a fool of myself in front of the class during my final presentation. Then, once your fear is sufficiently narrowed, it becomes much easier to wrap your head around it. And it might even sound so far-fetched as to cease to be a fear. All right, method number 2 is actually answer your what-if questions. Often we'll voice our worries with what-if questions. And so these what-ifs are meant to be rhetorical. But to get over your fear of failure, answer the question. What if I fail my midterm? What if my business fails? What if paparazzi photograph me paddleboarding naked with Katy Perry? Well, okay, maybe that one's uniquely specific, but the question probably should have been asked. The point remains. What would you do? How would you cope? Who would comfort you? If you're worried about failing your midterm, think about how you'd cope if that actually came to pass. You'd get help from the TA, plan out a study schedule for the final, and maybe not stay out till 1 a.m. before the next exam. If you're worried your small business will fail, think about how you'd cope if that actually happened. You'd give your employees as much notice as possible, apply for jobs, talk to your lenders, and sell off what you can. When you answer the what-if question, you come out the other side with a plan, which instantly makes things less scary. Method number 3 is counterintuitive. Stop visualizing success. You heard that right. Conventional wisdom says to make success yours by visualizing it. To lose weight, picture yourself in those skinny jeans. To get your dream job, visualize putting your feet up in the corner office. Right? Not so much, it turns out. A series of studies by Dr. Gabriele Oettingen, a psychologist at the University of Hamburg and NYU, found exactly the opposite. Counterintuitively, when study participants visualized a crush falling in love with them, recovering successfully from hip surgery, losing weight, or getting a job, the less likely those things were to happen. Why? Okay, well, our positive visualizations are idealized versions of our goals. In our mind's eye, success is total and complete, costs are negligible, exertion is light, and the number of setbacks and plain old dumb mistakes are few. So with this idealized image in mind, we're not motivated to dig deep or to focus our energy. And indeed, the more positive the fantasies, the less effort we invest in bringing them to fruition. Starry-eyed dreamers, it turns out, sometimes forget to roll up their sleeves and get to work. So what to do instead? Well, Oettingen pioneered a technique you might have heard of, mental contrasting. So, in addition to picturing the achievement of your goal, also visualize the obstacles that stand in your way. So go ahead and imagine the satisfaction of accepting your diploma to pomp and circumstance, but include time to picture the hours of studying and the number of times you'll have to resist the temptation to watch The Walking Dead. Visualize the applause after giving the concert of a lifetime. but also focus on the toil of practice and the realities of getting sidetracked from a career in music. In short, picture your desired future, but also reflect on the obstacles that stand in the way of that future. When you only do the former, you're fantasizing. When you only do the latter, you're perseverating, neither of which will harness the energy and motivation to make you succeed. All right, method number 4 is roll back the pressure. Go big or go home, nut up or shut up. Or, if you're Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. All right, shooting for the stars is admirable, but sometimes you have to cool your jets. Setting a punishing, sky-high goal seems like it should fire up your motivation, but all it causes is procrastination. So instead, set a goal about the process, not the end result. Instead of get 100,000 users to download this app I created, try learn all I can about launching a new app. Instead of get my dream job by April, go for attend 3 networking events a month. Aim for experiences, learning, trying, mastering, rather than just a quantitative endpoint. Indeed, if you aim to experience, you can never go wrong. Plus, you come away with truly valuable knowledge. And that is never a failure. And then finally, method number 5 is remember the difference between failing and being a failure. All right, when we claim to fear failure, what we truly fear is being a failure, which we perceive as something permanent and irredeemable. But with the possible exceptions of Betamax or Enron, this almost never happens. By contrast, the experience of failure is temporary and changeable. It doesn't feel good while you're in it, but you always learn something, and then you get the opportunity to reinvent yourself. From Bill Clinton to Martha Stewart to General Motors, our culture loves a good redemption story. So to wrap up, failure isn't an end, it's a stopover. Even if we do fail, we can pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and recount what we learned in the process. Like maybe next time not having sexual relations with that woman, taking a private jet to a government bailout, or leaving our swimsuit on the beach while paddleboarding. Regardless, specify what you're afraid of, answer your what ifs, visualize your obstacles along with your successes, and go easy on yourself. Failure won't stand a chance. Don't miss a thing when you sign up for the newsletter at quickanddirtytips.com/newsletters and get every episode delivered straight to your inbox, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, listen on Spotify or Auto, or like on Facebook, where there are always links to episodes no longer available on iTunes. I'm Dr. Ellen Hendrickson. The Savvy Psychologist is strictly for informational purposes and doesn't substitute for mental health care from a licensed professional. But as always, thank you so much for listening and subscribing. I will see you all next week for a happier, healthier mind.